All right, this is a video I want to do about judges, judging, judge. You know, it's one of the things that is very hard to do in this ministry. As you grow, you will learn that you're going to have to make difficult decisions. You're going to have to judge very difficult matters. You're going to have to say things that's going to be impossible to say a nice way. Somebody might take it the wrong way, and sometimes sometimes that person just got to toughen up. There's certain things it's impossible to say the a nice way. You tell your woman that she's fat, she needs to lose weight. There's not too many nice ways you can say that. You know, but judging, um, we always like to say, yeah, we can judge, and it's true we can judge, but everybody that judges is not a judge. If you can receive that, what I'm saying is that you have the court of public opinion. The court of public opinion is swayed by feelings. The court of public opinion doesn't listen to both sides of a story. Court of public opinion, you know, jumps out the window and picks a side. The court of public opinion doesn't, use the wisdom of the scriptures, the wise sayings, the proverbs of the wise writings to judge matters. And sometimes you will have people, and oftentimes most people are terrible judges. A person, even in this truth, a person who is a terrible judge, who is a public opinion, a court, not court appointed, a public appointed judge, shall I coin that term? They'll judge a matter and terrible at doing it. Terrible judges, just terrible. And that's just not their office. They might not even be a bad person. It just might not be their office to be a judge. And you sitting here judging matters. You know, oh, it's over there. Real quick, this is Proverbs chapter 18 and verse 17. It says, "He that is first in his own cause seemeth just, but his neighbor cometh and searcheth him." So, what is that talking about? You have a problem with two people. One person comes to you and say, "Hey, yeah, this dude, he owe me money. He ain't do this. He still, you see that car over there? That's my car. He got it still. He won't even give it back to me. And he owe me money." Oh man, that dude, I knew he wasn't full of S word. Then he come over, and then he basically search him out. "My car's over there because it broke down. I don't owe you money. We never agreed," or something like that. Or or you say something like, "Yeah, I owe you money, but did you forget that you owe me XYZ and haven't paid me?" I'm just freestyling on top of my head. That's probably not the best analogy. But basically, the point I'm saying is sometimes a person can go and just start talking, and a lot of times people aren't wise enough to understand that they gotta listen to both sides of a story. A person can walk by, and let, let's say a person walks by, and let's say, oh, let's say, I'm trying to think of accusation you could say, a slanderous accusation. Oh, that person gave me a STD, and you looking like, what? There's some people that might ignore it. There's some people that will address it like, no, I didn't. There's some people that are like, man, I ain't got time to sit here. Life is too short to be arguing with you and debating you about something that I'm not. I'm not about to have no 15-minute conversation with you and disprove to other people. But you got some people that, well, he didn't deny it. It must be true. And ultimately, what they're doing, they're judging. You know, you got people like that, and sometimes people like that will be judging you, and they'll sometimes those people will actually be handling your matters. You might have to go before a brother in this. It's a difficult matter, and you got a brother who's a terrible judge, just completely just terrible. Now you're not going to get all judgments right. Nobody does. But you got a brother that you know he's a terrible judge. You know he don't listen, short attention span, not wise. You know, hasty in his judgment. You know, he factors in irrelevant stuff like his personal, opinion about you. It has nothing to do with the judgment, and that sways his judgment. Just tiny little stupid stuff. You got to, you know, we have to pray for that type of understanding. It's not given to all men. That's why not everybody's cut out to be a judge. But I tell you what, though, when the other person's on that receiving end of judgment, they want everybody to have that understanding ear. When they got the Associated Press and they release a story about a woman, let's say a woman who left her kids in the car or whatever, and sit down and do an interview with the woman who left her kids in the car, and she's explaining, no, I actually didn't leave my kids in the car. I left, and such was in the car, and such left. So it looks like I left my kids in the car by themselves, but really, the person who I was with ended up leaving. And you do a hour, 2 hour long video interview with Fox News or whatever, and then they cut it and chop it up to make their segment, and they edit out everything that exonerates you of the allegations, and they chop it and edit out, and now you look to everybody else like the worst scum on the earth person ever. And people don't even have the presence of mind to consider that, hey, yeah, sometimes Fox News will chop stuff out, cut it up. And then you got also the person who's not bright enough to do that interview in the first place, understanding how it's going to be perceived or edited. It's you know, most people don't know how to judge. It's just as simple as that. They don't know how to judge, but everybody wants to judge. I'm gonna grab this real quick in First Corinthians. 2:15. As soon as I get to it. But he that is spiritual judgeth all things, yet he himself is judged of no man. So yeah, excuse me. Yeah, we can judge. There's a book called Judges. But if you are spiritual, you'll judge all things. And, one of the things that you'll judge, you're not just sitting around judging every brother over every little tiny little thing. Oh, I can judge. See, he is spiritual, judge all things, brother. I'm going to judge everything and everybody. Well, if you judge all things, then you judge all things, the negatives, the positives, so you actually can weigh in a balance. I like to give this analogy that if a person were to watch highlight film of Michael Jordan and a person on YouTube made a compilation highlight reel of Michael Jordan breaking dunks, missing game winning shots, getting his pocket picked, blowing layups, uh, airballing, missing free throws, uh, turning the ball over, um, getting crossed over by Allen Iverson. Anybody could actually sit there and believe that Michael Jordan is the worst basketball player ever. But if you have common sense, you understand that these are just highlights. I need to see this person's complete body of work, and if you know and you was there to see Jordan, then you already know that this dude is the greatest basketball player ever played. This person is an asshole to make this highlight reel of him. You got some people that know, some people that don't know. But the average person, if they didn't know no better, that's what they would assume. People are easily persuaded. You know, Deuteronomy 17:6, I'm not about to get it, but it talks about uh, in the mouth of two or three witnesses, basically, if a man can be put to death, or if they committed a crime, be put to death. That helps you to deal with slander, because sometimes you have a situation and it deals with slander, and it's one person's word versus another person's word. What do? The scripture tells you what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to have two or three witnesses if it deals with of death. Susanna was accused of sleeping with a man, and they said they couldn't catch the two elders. Those are two witnesses, two false witnesses, but two witnesses nevertheless. And they said they couldn't catch the man, but they caught her. They're about to put her to death. But guess what? Daniel had some sense. He knew that those elders were lying. They was full of shit. And he cross-interrogated them, cross-examined them. And they didn't stand the test of time. And people all was marveling that Daniel was as smart like that. Finally, a wise judge that can judge a matter for what it is and not for what it's presented as. There's some very, very compelling liars that know how to lie. And you got some people that know how to tell half-ass truths. And half-ass truth is still a lie. You know, one of the things that Esau loves to do with his statistics, and it's always about Jake, it's always negative statistics. Oh, black man not going to college. A black woman is going to college and she just going to the moon and back and woo. And while it may be true that they're going to college at higher rates than so-called black men, but if you don't know the whole story that puts everything into perspective about what they're getting degrees in versus what so-called black men are doing, you could easily be led to believe that black women are out earning so-called black men, and that's not true. Black men still out earn so-called black women. But you can get a lot of people to believe that all men are gay and jailed, and they don't even, you know, own anything, and we all independent boss bitches, and all the black men just baby daddies, and no. But see how easy it is to paint that narrow when you just give half-ass truths, or you present a truth in such a way. That's why you got to hear both sides of the story. Mephibosheth and Ziba, I believe that's 2 Samuel 19, if I'm not mistaken, that dealt with slander. Why didn't you come and greet the king? Mephibosheth was like, "Hey, I sent my servant to him." My servant was like, "Why he ain't come? That's why I came." It's dealing with a he said, she said matter. How do you deal with he said, she said matters? They're not easy to do. Most people pick and choose. Most people are not going to be like, you know what? I don't know. I don't know. I need to know more about it. I don't know. Or I don't care. Everybody has an opinion. Everybody has an opinion. And not only does everybody have an opinion, but everybody has an opinion about somebody else's opinion. Whatever happened to I don't know or I don't care? Vlad has mastered that of getting people on his show and asking them stupid, dumb, instigating ass questions, and people fall for that hook, line, and sinker every time, bro. Every time. And it's embarrassing. What do you feel about this? Well, I feel that, and I believe that he should not have hit her, and all of a sudden now that person got a beef with this person because of what they said on the Vlad TV interview, because they just wanted to just open their mouth and just talk just to hear themselves talk. You know, it's so easy to 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 start something and for people to fall for it, and that person who was wise enough to judge, they'd be like, wait a second, why are you asking me these dumbass questions, these instigating ass questions? Let me go over here in First Kings chapter 3. This is some very, very good wisdom. Man, I wish I had the video that I just did. I did a 40-minute video on the same topic and it didn't record nothing. Not a damn thing. So I'm doing it all over. And normally I don't do 40-minute videos, as you see, but I did a 40-minute video and it was a complete dud. I must have hit don't keep recording. Don't keep the recording that I had recorded. But this is First Kings chapter 3. Okay. First Corinthians chapter 3 and verse 5. And Gibeon Yahweh appeared to Solomon in a dream by night, and God said, ask what I shall give thee. And Solomon said, thou hast showed thy servant David, my father, great mercy, according as he walked before thee in truth and in righteousness and in uprightness of heart with thee, and thou hast kept from him this great kindness, and that thou hast given him a son to sit on his throne as it is this day. And now, O Yahweh my God, thou hast made thy servant king instead of David my father, and I am but a little child. I know not how to go out or come in. And my servant is in the midst of thy people, which thou hast chosen, a great people that cannot be numbered nor counted for multitude. Give therefore thy servant an understanding heart to judge thy people, that I may discern between good and bad. For who is able to judge this thy so great a people? So he wanted wisdom to judge. Understanding that's something that's hard to do. Everybody don't have that wisdom to judge. But everybody want to be a judge. Everybody got their opinion. They court of public opinion. DJ Academics, he is a master shit starter of trying to sway public's opinion about certain people. If you see Yahweh Shai, what do they try to do? They try to sway the public's opinion. Oh, this man's a blasphemer. This man is a wine bibberty. This man is this. This man is that. All slander. A lot of cases and a lot of things you're going to deal with is slander. A person saying something, you did this to me, you did that, and you got the gullible people who believe it. Because if one thing's worse than a slanderer is the person that's not wise enough to consider if the slander that's being said is true or not. They just take it on face value and believe it. You can't judge the people like that. A judge got to be able to hear both sides. There's sometimes also there's some people that don't address allegations. It's, hey, I'm not about to, this person spent 5 seconds making a slanderous accusation about me, and I'm not gonna feel obligated to spend the next 30 minutes explaining that I didn't do what he accused me of. And so he get to spend 5 seconds making a slanderous statement about me, and I got to spend the next 30 minutes denying and disproving. There's some brothers that are gonna be like, man, you believe what you want to believe, and there's some brothers that'll be like, hey, well, he didn't deny it, must be true. Person like that can't judge the people. You can't judge Jake like that. You not a judge. You gotta, but you got people like that they don't see nothing wrong with that. Even if they're proven to be wrong, they still don't see that. They take that as a lesson learned. Verse 10, and the speech pleased Yahweh, and Solomon had asked this thing. Verse 11, and God said unto him, because thou hast asked this thing, and hast not asked for thyself long life, neither hast asked riches for thyself, nor hast asked the life of thine enemies, but hast asked for thyself understanding to discern judgment. Behold, I have done according to thy words. Lo, I have given thee a wise and understanding heart, so that there was none like thee before thee, neither after thee shall any arise like unto thee. So you ain't even ask for riches or gold, you ask for wisdom to judge the people. Very, very selfless request. Now, another verse I want to grab is a little bit beyond this. Is you get to see what happens when he, got this wisdom. Verse 16. Then came there 2 women that were harlots unto the king, and stood before him. And the one said, O my lord, I and this woman dwell in one house, and I was delivered of a child with her in the house. And it came to pass the 3rd day after that I was delivered, that this woman was delivered also, and we were together. There was no stranger with us in the house, save we 2 in the house. And this woman's child died in the night, because she overlaid it. So she slept on her child. You hear about stories like that to this day. And she arose at midnight and took my son from beside me, while thine handmaid slept, and laid it in her bosom, and laid her dead child in my bosom. And when I arose in the morning, I gave to give my child suck. Behold, it was dead. But when I had considered it in the morning, behold, it was not my son, which I did bear. Verse 22. And the other woman said, Nay, but the living is my son, and the dead is thy son. And this said, No, but the dead is thy son, and the living is my son. Thus they spake before the king. So this is dealing with slander. Somebody's lying. Both of these statements is not true. Verse 23, then said the king, the one saith, This is my son that liveth, and thy son is the dead. And the other saith, Nay, but my son is the dead, and that thy son is the dead, and my son is the living. So he's saying, he said, she said. Verse 24, the king said, Bring me a sword. And they brought a sword before the king. And the king said, divide the living child in two, and give half to the one and half to the other. Then spake the woman whose the living child was unto the king, for her bowels yearned upon her son. And she said, O my Yahweh, give her the living child, and in no wise slay it. But the other said, let it neither be mine nor thine, but divide it. So she was like, go ahead, kill that thing. Yeah, give me my half. Verse 27, then the king answered and said, give her the living child, and in no wise slay it. She is the mother thereof. And all Israel heard of the judgment which the king had judged. And they feared the king, for they saw that the wisdom of God was in him to do judgment. And so that was a very, very wise way to handle it, because if you truly are the mother, that motherly instinct, you went to go give your child suck, so you obviously care about it. And then if that's your child, you don't want to see your child, dead. That baby that was dead, that's her child. Can't do nothing with that. But my child is in the hands of this woman. Let her have it. And the other one, she like, kill it. And you could tell by their responses whose child it was, because who was invested in that child. How many people would have the wisdom to handle that he said, she said situation like that? Some people might have ruled in favor of the woman who said the living son is mine. A person might, most people wouldn't have said, bring me a sword and I'll kill it. Most people have been like, well, how you know that that was your son? If she took it at night, how do you know? You was asleep, right? So you couldn't feel her. Some people might be doing like, oh, well, y'all harlots anyways. He used the right, judgment, and most people don't have judgment skills like that. But you gotta operate with judgment skills like that, because everything perception is not reality. It's just your perception. You can watch a boxing match, and you got CompuBox stats, which show how many punches were landed, how many were not landed, what percentage was landed. And in reality, it's like three people who's looking at the fight, and every punch that's thrown, he's saying what he saw. And let's say, if I think of, it's like two of the three people agree that it was a punch landed, then it counts as a punch landed. But they're using their judgment. But they can only perceive what they can perceive at that angle. A person could be ringside, but the angle that they have, they can't see the other side. So they can't see the right hook that's being thrown, that's being landed. Or they could see the right hook that's thrown and it's not landed. But they can't see. They don't got that perception. You got some referees in a basketball game, different referees are positioned in different places so they can see things. Certain referees can't see certain things. There's some people who actually, like Kobe Bryant, he would intentionally play in a way how he knew where the referees were at and what position they were at in to make certain calls. And he can't see this, so I'm going to take advantage of this. So that's just what that person perceived, but the reality could be something completely different. You have deep fake videos, and your perception, you think, okay, this person is happening, this person doing that, and the reality is it's going completely different. You know, do you have the wisdom to refrain judgment? To hear both sides? You know, judging is something that's very, very hard. You know, you want to, how Solomon did, pray for that wisdom to judge the people. You know, on that note, I want to give all praise and glory to Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, Bashem Kakwadash, double honors to elders of GMS Ruel. Peace, salutation, shalom.